Assalamualaikum and welcome to our video number 9 of our first chapter, playing with numbers. In yesterday's class we had seen how to use divisibility tests for 3 and 9. Let us recall what we have done yesterday. So to check if a number is divisible by 3 or 9, the rule is very simple. Add all the digits of the given number, and after adding, if your answer is a multiple of 3, then that number is divisible by 3, and if after adding, if the answer that you are getting is not a multiple of 3, that means the given number is not a multiple of 3. Same rule goes for 9 as well. We'll discuss one small example. If I have a number like 124, and if I add 1 plus 2 plus 4, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 4 is 7. So do we get 7 in the table of 3? Definitely not. That means 124 is not a multiple of 3. This is how we understand, without even doing division, the rules of divisibility and how to check whether a number is divisible by 3 or 9. We just add all the numbers, and if this number that we are getting is a multiple of 3. When I say multiple of 3, it means it should be available in the table of 3 or table of 9 if we are checking it for 9. And yes, if this number is available, then this given question is divisible by 3 or 9. Let us start today's class and move ahead by learning what is the divisibility test for 5. So divisibility test for 5 is extremely simple and very easy. So the divisibility test for 5 tells that if the last number is 0 or 5, then that number is divisible by 5. Example, so I'll write it. If the last digit of the given number is 0 or 5, then it is divisible by 5. What does it mean? I'll take an example. 246. What is the last digit of this number? 6. So if the last digit is 0 or 5, that means this number will be divisible by 5. But what is my last digit here? 6. That's why 246 is not divisible by 5. Now if I have 245, what is the last digit? The last digit is 5. Because the last digit is 5, according to the rule, if the last digit is 0 or 5, then this whole number is divisible by 5. Therefore, 245 is divisible by 5. If I have a number like 360, what is the last number? 0. So if I have the last number as 0, that means even then this entire number 360 will be divisible by 5. So in simple words, if any number is given to you and if the last digit of that number is 5 or if the last digit of that number is 0, that means that entire number can be divided by 5 or it is divisible by 5. So the rule is last number is 0 or 5, any one of those, 0 or 5. So now, even if you have a very big number, like let us suppose 1, 2, 5, 9, 6, 8, 5, 4, 9, 6, 5, 0. So for this number, I should prove whether this is divisible by 5 or not. Or in simple words, can I divide this number by 5 and get the remainder as 0? When I say divisible, that means the remainder is 0. So there is no need of doing division. All I have to do is check only the last digit. Last digit is 0. So according to the rule, if I get 0 or 5, that means it is divisible by 5. Right? So I hope you have understood the divisibility rule for 5. So your homework will be write down at least 5 examples to show that a number is divisible by 5 by taking the last digit as 0 or 5. Then show some examples where you should prove that it is not divisible by 5. When you say not divisible, it means the last digit cannot be 0 or 5. Let us move on to the next rule or next divisibility test. It is divisibility by 10. So now if I want to check if any number is divisible by 10, there's only one rule. The last digit has to be 0. Only 0. There can't be any other number. So for 5, it will be last number 0 or 5. Any one. Either 0 or 5. But when it comes to 10, the last digit has to be only 0. So if I have a number 265, so is this divisible by 10? It is not divisible by 10. But this number is divisible by 5. Why is this divisible by 5? Because the last digit is 5. But if I have a number like 260, what do you think this is divisible by? So this number is divisible by 10. Why is it divisible by 10? Because the last digit is 0. But you may say, this number is also divisible by 5. Why is this number also divisible by 5? Because according to the rule for divisibility by 5, the last number has to be 0 or 5. That means if you have any number where the last number is 0, that means it can be both divisible by 5 and also 10. But if you have only 5 at the end, it is divisible only by 5, not with 10. But if you have 0 at the end, it can be divided or it is divisible both by 5 and 10. I'll repeat what I just said. So we are learning divisibility rule for 5 and 10. Divisibility test for 5 is if the last number is 0 or 5, that means the number is divisible by 5. But if the last number is only 0, that means it is divisible by 5 and 10. That means the divisibility rule for 10 is the last number has to be only 0, it can't be any other number. That means when you get the last number as 0, that means it is divisible by 10 and also it is divisible by 5. I hope you have understood the divisibility rule for 5 and 10. Last number is 0 and 5 or 5, it is divisible by 5. But if the last number is only 0, that means it can be divided or divisible by 5 also and 10 also, right? So let us see some examples. 265, divisible by 5 or 10? Only 5, because the last number is 5. 210, last digit is 0. So this is divisible by 10 and also divisible by 5, because the last digit is 0. Next, 264. Is this divisible by 5 and 10? Definitely not, because the last digit is neither 5 nor 10. So let us see if it is divisible by 3 or 9. So how do we check the divisibility test for 3? 2 plus 6 plus 4. 4 plus 6, 10. And 10 plus 2, 12. Do we get 12 in the table of 3? 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are 6, 3 threes are 9, 3 fours are 12. So I get 12 in the table of 3, or it is a multiple of 3. That's why 264 is divisible by 3. Right? So please remember all the 4 rules that we have learned till now. Divisibility test for 3, 9, 5 and 10. We have 2 more rules, that is divisibility test for 4 and 11, which we will be learning in the next class. Until then, please take some random examples from your side and prove it whether it is divisible by 3 or 9 or 5 or 10. So go through all the 4 rules and let me know if there are any doubts. Please try out examples and post them in the Google Classroom app as your homework. Thank you very much for watching the video.